Hello, hello. Testing, testing. Beautiful. What is up, Be the Shark Nation Poker? It's Zach the Tiburon Marcy here. Am I centered? Sorry, I got a weird setup. Hey guys, what is going down? We are doing a live study stream today, real time. Please feel free at any time to pop in, ask questions, say anything, and more importantly, participate. I am going to cover today a couple of things. Number one, I got to three final tables this week. I have one win, one second place, and one very brutal eighth place where I goofed hard with a. It's almost inexplicable, but I'm going to save it for the last thing that I cover in here and show you why it was a goof. Basically, I had to settle for $150 as opposed to $1,100. It's that big of a goof. It's $1,000 mistake, and it's pretty obvious after the fact, but it also shows you have to make really good decisions based on everything around you. And I'm hoping that I get to share with you guys here and Be the Shark Poker Nation some of the. I've been playing 20 years and I still get some of these spots wrong. I still get stuck in positions where greed gets the best of me or I just make a goof. But the most important thing to do is pull it up, study it, review it, and move on. Know that the next time, don't make that same mistake. You need to be in here making mistakes, reviewing the mistakes, and then studying how to make sure that you're making those improvements, but keeping those lessons within you, right? Like don't just have these things where you're randomly guessing. Put your theories to the test. And one of the worst things in poker that winds up happening is when people are successful, which I'll tell you what, man, I've had a lot of success in recent days, but I'm still hungry enough to really push these edges. But when people are successful and think that they don't have anything to work on, because losing has a tendency to be more of a lesson teacher or a something where you have to analyze what's going on. But winning can be one of those where it's self-affirming bias of, hey, everything's going well. The result that I'm getting out of this is working. I don't need to do anything else. And it's the biggest fallacy that you can possibly do. It's a reason why I have this stream going today. I want to teach you guys how to study. So the format for what we're doing today, and I'm going to have to pull it back up here, is first and foremost, we have I want to teach you guys what I'm doing for how to set up an A-game study habit. And I will tell you right now, this is straight from Elliot Rowe. Elliot Rowe, who, by the way, has this book, A-Game Poker. As you see, I am halfway through it for a third time. I read this, I think, 3 years ago and used it, and now I'm redoing it all over again. Elliot Rowe has coached people like Phil Galfond, Fedor Holes, the all-time winningest heads-up player on earth, Barry Sweet, who nobody still knows who they are, and many, many others. You know, I mean, I just told you probably those three's poker careers, you know, you're looking at probably $100 million in winnings. So with that said, and I am monitoring chat. So if you see me looking off, I promise I'm still paying attention to you guys, but feel free to ask questions. The whole point, though, with getting an A game study habit and me invoking who Elliot has worked with is a lot of people do the work off the felt to fill themselves with knowledge, fill themselves with studying spots. Actually, it's probably only about 30% of people that play poker. Probably 70% just go in and start playing and kind of have a theory and do their thing. About 30% go in and start studying ranges, go in and start studying hands. But there's an elite few, and I can't put a percentage on it, but there's an elite few that wind up doing things like maximizing sleep, minimizing food and nutrition that will wind up creating brain fog, and maximizing your nutrition, maximizing life leaks, things like getting in a fight with your significant other right before getting on the felt, or uh, being preoccupied with something that's going on with, let's say, your recreational, and you have a main job, and you go on tilt because you're pissed off at your boss, and you're out there, you're going to take it all out on all the donkeys that you're going to crush inside of the game. And you bring everything to who you are in the present moment on the felt, virtual or live, but it has to be intentional. You have to look for a lot of the other things that essentially are bringing up an A game. And I'll just kind of cover some of them here. It's like mindset and meditation, fitness and nutrition, studying habits. The way I set up a study habit drills is like theory, and then drilling that theory spot, like applying it in a non-live game situation through something like GTO Wizard or Pre-Flop Dojo. Then going into like trouble hand review, and that we're going to do today. I have 4 hands that I want to cover, and I want to make sure I'm utilizing the tools within that trouble hand review to test what I would do next time. And then, last but not least, and this is a part of studying, I don't ever hear many people talk about this unless you're working with a coach, and it's intentional play. For instance, I want to drill today my big blind defense at 20 big blinds, which is real weird. I kind of have some questions personally on whether or not I am defending effectively. But then some of the post-flop play stuff, I'm just not quite in the board combinations of what I'm going to do just yet. I want to still keep drilling the pre-flop ranges. But that's how I set up an intentional routine. That's what we're going to be doing today. And last but not least, it's bankroll management. So one more time, building the best player that you can be. You want to go mindset and meditation, fitness and nutrition, study, like ideal studying, sleep and off felt habits, playing your A game, playing your best game by setting up an A game routine. Like didn't even go over this. Sorry. Like game selecting, shot taking, and everything relevant to playing the game. And then bankroll management. So today, let's jump into what we're going to be doing. And so studying your A game habits needs to be intentional. And this book in particular, I have his Prime Mind that I utilize for creating a meditation that I do right before I play. So this is what my A-game study habits and pre-game setup looks like. First thing I'm going to do is you're going to see I'm going to go through some of the trouble hands. Then I'm going to study. Then immediately after I study the pre-flop big blind defense scenario, I'm going to go into the work that I've done with Elliot's book. Right now, I've created something called the Be the Shark mindset, and I'm reviewing all 12 of the ways of being I want to show up on the felt. I'm going to commit those in. Then I'm going to sit down with his Prime Mind app. I'm going to listen to the routine as I intentionally keep in mind, the person I am developing through the experience that I want with Elliot Rose, A game poker. And then I'm going to go play with the intention of nailing my pre-flop big blind ranges. And that's exactly what I'm going to do to carry this in. And I hope you guys are following through on this. I am going to chop this up. I know you guys are getting this live. If you're watching this on the replay, you're not going to hear me say this. The thing that you're going to see is probably the YouTube video of me with a more polished and professional approach with this. But for those of you that are catching this now, catching this on the replay, I want to make sure that you write this down. It is in the description here inside of Twitch and inside of YouTube, but make sure that you are creating some form of setting up a routine that's going to get you into both the frame of mind and the content and material and knowledge that you need before you play. And then once you're in that frame of mind, once you're in that state of being, going in and have some kind of intentional focus inside of your play. For those of you that are micro and low stakes, I'm going to give you where you need to start. The first thing I would highly recommend is starting with your pre-flop ranges. The second part where I want you to start focusing once you've really nailed your pre-flop ranges at different stack depths is going to be player types and taking notes on players. Cut down on the volume of tables that you're going to play. Really focus on the habits, patterns, and behaviors of a lot of the players that you're playing with. Get them into the player types. If you haven't already, I have a YouTube video covering all of the player types and what they are. It's inside of How to Crush Poker Tournaments. And then once you're intentionally focusing on those things, make sure to check in with yourself every step of the way. So every time that you get that 5-minute break, check in. Hey, am I playing my A game? Am I focused on what it is that I promised myself that I would? Am I playing my C game? Am I dragging something into from my personal life into this? And reassess with every break if you're being your best and if you're playing your best. Because what's going to wind up happening is when you turn into a person of intention on the poker table and you're present and fully empowered every time that you're doing things, your win rates are going to skyrocket, like significantly. But a lot of people don't do this, and this is really how some of the better pros, some of the best pros, Fedor Hills in particular, I know really studied his routine and feel like he's one of those really great players. Jorstad, yeah, I can't pronounce his Espen Jorstad, guy that won the main event 2 years ago, and also suddenly has went on to cash for like another like 4 or 5 million, maybe even more since, and really racking up a lot of wins, getting another bracelet in the tag team event and winning. I think he won a Triton this year, and I know he won a big event for like $3 million just recently. He does all of this, and he even does a lot of the GTO Wizard stuff. If you're real serious about being the best poker player that you can be, write these down, take it for instance, and go. Let's jump into some of these crucial hands. Let me see. First one we're going to start with. This is, make sure I get this right. All right. So, welcome to the hand that haunts me. This is heads up in the daily 750 progressive bounty. So let me give you a little bit. I actually went into this with a very large chip lead. Um, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was like 5-1. And at this point, um, the person I'm playing is a loose aggressive. He's a winning loose aggressive player, and he's very good. He is a very good player. Um, I managed to make adjustments against him. I was at the table with him for, I would say, from 3 tables down to getting heads up with him. And I had copious notes. I played with this person at final table several times. I think this is the first time I've ever gotten heads up with them, though. And I have gotten three-handed with them and busted them, which I know how and why. But this person is very shove happy. They have the capability of being able to. This all has a purpose of giving the backstory. They have the capability of being able to bluff on draws, being able to jam all in with complete air, or where they haven't gotten there and have removal. They're complex enough where they actually aren't even worried about winning per se. What they're worried about is pushing their edge to put me uncomfortable. So I'm put at decisions, and it's really weird because I'm almost always that player heads up. And this I wound up turning into a nit and folding away a lot of equity, and went from a 5-1 chip lead to now him having basically a 2-1, almost. I mean, it's not quite there. It's like 1.5-1 chip lead, and this hand happened. So my mental state at this is, okay, I need to adjust to him being overly aggressive. I need to make sure in this spot that I realize my equity, and I want to trap him, but at the same time, I need to make sure that I win this tournament. So, I'm gonna walk through this here. So, I am dealt jacks. By the way, Global Poker does this. He's on the button. I'm actually in the big blind. I go with a standard 3x 3-bet, and he chooses to flat. So at this point, I already know he probably doesn't have a premium, because he knows that I have been playing a very linear range when it comes to 3-betting. He does know he's behind, but here's the catch. This board is very draw heavy, and everything that he loves draws. This guy loved draws. So the likelihood of this board interacting with him having a straight draw or a flush draw would be pretty high. But I have two things going for me that remove the possibility of him being able to get there. But I'm gonna show you. This was a betting tell that he had. Probably shouldn't be saying this, but he had a betting tell every time that he was drawing, and it was a dead giveaway. I'm gonna show you guys. So obviously, playing in flow here, I check, and he checked back. He like every oops, is it still going? I think it is. Okay. He was always betting top pair. He was always betting middle pair. Anytime he had a pair, not a draw, he was leading. Every time he didn't have a draw, every time he hit a piece of the board, he was looking to win it then and there, but he was checking back when he had a draw. So here, mistake number one from me was I did not protect the equity and extract the equity from the 3-bet. I should have continued immediately with the bet. Um, but I was trying to hang him. So here I went with the bet that I should have done on the flop. He flats. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, he plays this check, call. No 3-bet. I know he doesn't have a set. I know at this point he doesn't have a king because he would have bet it out. This is exactly how he plays all of his draws. But he would also be willing to jam all in on airball, right? Because he's done it before. I'm positive in my head and in my heart. Number one, I have the heart removal. So I knew even if he had a draw here, he was probably not going to get there. He played this like he always did, a draw, and I knew a huge bet was incoming. I went for a value bet of about half pot. He jams all in. And I'm thinking it through, and I'm like, you know what? I've got the theory. He played all of his draws exactly like this. I knew he wouldn't get there. He probably could have the likelihood of him having the king super low just by the way he was playing. And him having something like an ace 5 of hearts hand is very high. My flop check back looked weak, so he probably is underestimating the strength of my hand. Let's go for it. So I call. And I was right all the way, but I was so freaking wrong. I was completely wrong. He did play it exactly like a draw. I knew he wasn't going to get there, and I knew he was probably going to bluff big. This is exactly what he had done. And I'm looking over this. I played the flop incorrectly. If I knew he was drawing, I was trying to hang him, but also not risk everything. I did not even consider that he had potentially hit 2-pair on the river. It didn't even cross my mind. I didn't even think I would be beat. But if you really think about it, 6-8 gets there. I did not think about a backdoor draw potentially getting there. And, the more that I think about this, and I went over this with a lot of friends, I'm blocking the straights, like the likelihood of him having 2 hearts goes down a little bit with the jack of heart removal. It felt like a good spot to what turned into a very big bluff, in my opinion. And what it was is he did exactly what I would do to exploit people that think that I'm playing like a maniac. And that's over betting when I hit a fairly big hand. Yeah. The major problem is I knew he was playing like a maniac. I know that he loves these suited connectors. Absolutely loves suited connectors. I know he had the ability to play this really poorly. And I tried to bluff catch here. One of the things that I've personally been working on, I want to make sure that you guys work on as well, is I've been folding a lot on the river and I've been winning a lot more. Just because you've invested a lot with 2-pair and just because with a hand, and if something changes on any street, please be willing to fold. It is a good defensive strategy. It exploits people getting too greedy. And in all honesty, the way he played this looked super bluffy. With the way everything bricked out looked super bluffy. I was hero calling, and it cost me $100 here. The difference between first and second was $97, $98. And it cost me here. It cost me. I wound up having to settle for a $120 win in second place on an $11 PKO. Cool. Moving on to the next hand. This one is a different tournament. We're down to 2 tables. Is this is a $22, $1,250 overlay on Global Poker. And I needed to see whether or not I called off too light. So what I wound up doing was setting up what my call range would be against. So this is 8 big blinds, right? That's the effective stack. And 40 big blinds, where I actually have the stack. And the thing that I wound up doing is realizing that this was probably a little too light of a call. And I'm going to show you guys what wound up happening. So here's the theory. If let's go pre-flop, right? There's a 112 big blind stack. There is a 40, a 50, a 40. I need every chip that I possibly can, especially because this guy right here can put a lot of pressure on me. These 2 stacks are essentially, they're roughly the same as me. This guy right here, I don't want to fall into that range. And then these 2, I want to bust way before me because I have them covered. So there is a risk premium and an ICM pressure here at the final table that I need to be aware of and very, very mindful of. And when it comes down to it, when it really comes down to it, I need to study the spots with ICM pressure and know exactly where I'm at, what I should and shouldn't call with. And this is one of those. So pre-flop, I knew this guy was going to be going. I get a pocket pair, and in the back of my head, I'm thinking, okay, he's going to be going pretty light. I have a moderately strong, it's mid strength, maybe even lower strength pocket pair, but it's probably a coin flip about between what he's pushing here. I have the capability of adding about 10 big blinds to my stack and getting over some of these other people. Let's see what happens when they act, and then I'll make the decision. So it gets to me. Everybody folds out, and I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm risking about 7 to win 10, but get to that 50 big blind range. I'm going to take the shot. And he flips ace 9. So, up against his range, he's going to be doing this. It was about where I thought he was. The problem is you take the power of those decisions away when it's pre-flop and it's just up to the poker gods. If you can play post-flop, and this is a little bit smaller of a raise, you take that edge, and you might even set mine. Something might come in here with everything changes when it's post-flop, it's post-flop play. I looked at this, and not what I wanted. here's the chart. Here is the chart. All right, just so you guys know, this is me at 40 bigs. Oops, sorry, it was under the gun. Yeah, so let's say under the gun jammed. Let's just call it 10 big blinds effective. Look at this. So if this is 10 big blinds, this is the effective stack. This is what I need with 25% of the field left. This is what I need in order to call. Right? I am one pip down. If we look at, let's just say we had more risk premium. It was a 40 big blind jam. Look how shallow, like ace king off, ace king suited. Like, this is how important all of those chips are. This is really, like, you start adding in risk premium, you start adding in ICM, you start adding in how much more my chips are worth to me than theirs are. This starts to get, oops, sorry guys. This starts to get a little crazy. And this starts to get where I'm not doing the thing that I need to be doing in order to win poker tournaments if I'm calling off this light. And so this spot right here, I made sure to hunt or to pull it because I was a little unsure, and now I realize it. So the cool thing is, even in spite of, sorry about that, guys. Even in spite of losing this hand, I did wind up getting, again, sorry, I did wind up getting heads up, but this was another spot where I think I goofed. I actually wound up winning this tournament overall, but this was another spot where I goofed and I won in spite of the decision. So I pulled everything up here. So here I am on the button, and I mean, this is a pretty damn good button hand with the potential of making a very strong hand. It's a no-brainer. It is 100% a no-brainer open. I have this guy, as you see at this point, I have a huge chip lead comparatively. Remember, there was the guy that had the 100 big blind stack. He's gone. Where's this him? Now I don't remember. Either way, they became an irrelevant factor trying to bust everybody. And we're talking about this is not a PKO. There's no value in him trying to bust everybody at all. So it's more important to slowly and steadily chip up, which I did masterfully at this final table. And as you see here, this guy flatted. So in my mind, they have a range, right? And this is, did we get there? Yeah, there we go. This is their range, right? So my range is very obvious. It is King 10 suited. I have the board out here, and here we are. This is what I think they have. I think they have, actually we could take out the likelihood of them having King 10 suited. Actually, even them having King 10 is pretty low. So I am thinking in the spot. Wow, man. really thinking this through, this is their general range. And this is what I'm thinking that I'm up against here. And this is Flopzilla, by the way. So as you can read here, they're going to defend with any pocket pairs, right? They're going to defend probably pretty much any ace, suited and offsuit. God, man. You see, even the likelihood of them having... I took most of the kings out of their range. Apologies. Yeah, because I had a king in mind. I mean, we can throw these back in. We'll throw them back in. I don't see them defending much with anything else other than... I mean, some of these suited kings get in there. I'll add them in. And there's no way they have a premium, right? Like, I went ahead and removed ace king, went ahead and removed aces, kings, and queens. Jacks, they've got 20 some odd big blinds. Like, it's kind of a mistake to, with these merged ranges, like, you just don't want it. I would probably open jam jacks, but at the same time, it's kind of sketchy. I gave it to them just in case that they were a person that's a little leery about this. So something happens here, which was kind of weird. This is my equity versus what I think that their range is, right? And they went ahead and just led. So they have 15 behind. There's now, I think that's right. Is the pot right? Yeah. Okay. So essentially, they had a pot size bet left. This pot, as it stands for my draw, is laying me, was it 6, 5? I mean, it's 2-1, right? It's 2-1 on what I'm thinking is a 2-1 draw. I really think that I could hit any spade. I'm really thinking I could hit any king. I'm really thinking I could hit any jack or any ace, or the ace jack of spades would be nice. Runner, ace jack of spades. I have a straight flush draw, straight royal flush draw, backdoor royal flush draw. Like, there's just so much here. I really thought that I had more equity. I thought I had about half the deck, and it turns out the way that they played this, like, it just made sense for me to go ahead and jam and put the pressure on them, because there's, number one, pressure for them not to bust. If you look here, there's so many stacks that are of similar size. They're only going to take this chance if they have a really strong hand. Now, could they have already gotten there with Jack 10? Yeah, that's a very realistic possibility, but not likely, because I have a 10 in my hand. I also had that redraw at the flush. Could they have a let's say, like, ace 5 or a suited ace flush draw? Sure. It just felt like too much of a very good hand and possibility for me to pass this up. So I jammed on them. Now, you guys aren't seeing this. So I wound up jamming on them. And here's what happened. He winds up flipping kings. I did not realize 2 of my outs were gone. And what I want to do is I want to change how that affects. Let's see. How that affects everything. Because it's pretty significant when you look at it. But we play this game of incomplete information, right? And that's kind of the whole point. Where's 8 of diamonds? There we go. We play this game of incomplete information. And so it just happens. Like sometimes you're just up against it. Um, Sometimes you're just up against it. But what I want you to see, if he would have 3-bet here, depending upon how large of the 3-bet, I might be folding. We might not be in the spot. So, remember, previously, I had 39% equity. But the real equities of the same board against his actual hand and my actual hand is not that good. I would not be jamming here with just 30% equity. I would need a little bit more equity. I did not know that two of my actually now I'm looking at it. Yeah. So yeah, it takes my geez, man. It takes it way down. So 5 hits on the turn. Jack hits on the river. We get there with the straight. No way do I take this edge or take this chance for a third of my stack if I think he has kings. His flat was pretty sneaky. It cut my equity in half, basically. I mean, it dropped it by 15%. But I took the chance. It worked out. And I wound up winning this tournament. All right. Last but not least inside of here, I have a crazy hand from Ignition. I want to show you guys the ICM implications of this before we get into the actual hand. So I'm currently sitting at 9.1 million. This is me in 4th place. If I fold out and maintain my placing, I'm guaranteed $506, right? Now, if I bust right now, I have locked up $152. Now, mind you, looking back at this table, there we go. Looking back at this table, we have vulnerable stack, vulnerable stack, vulnerable stack, vulnerable stack. Somebody that probably won't call without a premium. I mean, like, this is just, it's absolutely silly for me to, with everything that's at odds, with the ICM implications that are going here, it would be silly for me to jam and not attempt to try to post-flop play this one. And I'm going to show you what I did. And I get called by the big stack. This board runs out. Like, and of course, what do they have? Ace, like, they should have never called with ace 10, risking a third of their chips against eights, which is, their call was crazy, but I put myself in this position, right? So I'm going to go back to these payouts real quick. And I want to remind you, I had somebody with 4 big blinds. I'm right here in fourth place with 11 big blinds. I basically had the same as third place. So I'm right here. Like between if I fold out or even win just one little hand, I'm pretty much guaranteed $500 to $650. I do have one, two. I have three people, or one, yeah, one, two, three. I have three people that cover me, but then a bunch of people that I cover. But if they're going to call, they're going to wind up calling with a better hand. There's a lot of risk premium going on here. And I'm going to show you, I solved this inside of GTO Wizard. Is this the right one? ICM final table, average 3 bigs. Yeah, there you go. So, or 15 bigs. In looking at this, with ICM pressure, with me acting under the gun, remember I had 8s under the gun here. With me acting with this ICM pressure, I should not have even, not only, do I only jam this, what is that? 2% of the time. It is a fold 98% of the time. And I would need to have, I don't know why I did that. I would need to have 9s or better to even consider raising, not jamming, but raising. And the only things, because of all of this ICM pressure, that I could be jamming, a quarter of the time I'm jamming 10s. King Jack suited, King Queen suited, Ace Queen off sometimes, Ace Jack off half the time, Ace 10 suited half the time. Look how tight this range is, and 8s aren't in there. And these are things I'm like, I guess I've overvalued top pair so often, or overvalued pocket pair so often. But now that I'm really studying ICM ranges and understanding payout implications, this one was a very big eye-opener, team. Very, very big eye-opener for me. I'm going to show you now. Let's see what changes. That's the guy that covers me the most. Ace 10 off gets in there from him, but let's see. I go all in from under the gun, right? And then this is the call off range. So once I've went all in, assuming I have this range. But once I've gone all in, look at the ranges. Look how tight it is that somebody can call in between. Ace 10 offsuit is nowhere near any of these people's range. And this guy with 29 big blinds was the closest. And they had the most capability of calling off, closing the action. I was actually surprised to see that 5s all the way up to 8s got in there. And look at this, man. Like, even Ace 10 suited is a fold, and this person called off with Ace 10. So this is a blunder on 2 different people's parts, but I bet he went on to go and win the $1,000 or $1,100 that I wanted to have. And yeah, 1,103, and I'm walking with $152 due to this very big, greedy ICM mistake that I made by jamming 8s under the gun, which wasn't even a raise due to the ICM implications. You have to know these numbers. You have to study these spots. And in all honesty, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start drilling these. This one in particular, I'm going to start drilling. Um, I did have. In fact, you know what? I know we're right at an hour and I want to go play. So I hope this is helpful and beneficial. You guys, let me recap real quick because you guys, what you guys had was a you learned how to set up a good study stream. So how to set up good A game habits. How to set up a study routine where actually I didn't go through and start drilling these, but as you see, I utilize some of these tools. Now what I'm going to do, I honestly thought that I was going to, I'll show you what I set up. Everybody say hello to Bella, who has decided to wake up and jump on the floor. What I was going to do was do the big blind defense range. So I was going to get into Flopzilla and start training my big blind defense against the against other under the gun spots. But instead, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get in and start looking at ICM drills inside of GTO Wizard because I'm really bothered that I made these small mistakes that in all honesty, this is just 3 hands where I feel this cost me a minimum of $1,100 in the last couple of days. Minimum, the possibility of winning $1,100. And that's a lot of money for the stakes that we play. It is a lot of money. I have 5 4-figure scores this year, and this could have been a 6th. It could have been a 6th, and they make the 4-figure scores at the micro and low stakes can make or break a month. It really can, and actually can really make your months. You get $1,000 score each month. Like you just need to get, if you're looking to make a really good side income. I mean, that's half of your winnings for a month. You just need to accumulate a little bit more on other areas, other games, in order to get that like $2,000, $2,500 mark. Right now, I'm averaging about 20. Actually, in the last 4 months, I'm averaging $3,000 a month, and like that could have went up significantly with these $1,100 mistakes. So I want to make sure I am maximizing these moments and realizing what it's costing, drilling and making sure that I'm like setting up everything to get into those spots and do a lot better next time. I'm gonna let this go. I'm gonna let it go at that. We're right at the hour mark, and I don't want to keep rambling on, but I hope you guys derived a lot of value from this. Remember, be the shark, not the fish. If you need anything, you let me know. May all your big hands hold and all your bluffs get through. Again, last recap, set up your A-game study habits. Make sure that you're tilting everything in your favor, that you're showing up the best shark that you possibly can be on the felt. Create that study routine. Go through your hand reviews. Go through your drilling your spots. Go in and focus on a theory and intentionally go into each game with some kind of focus that you took from your studies as where you're going to put a lot of your effort and your energy. And last but not least, make sure you are pulling those hands and tagging those hands as you go through each one of your sessions so you can then turn around and review.